You have an interesting technique for maybe getting them to ripen out there. So prior to pulling your warm season plants, you talk about basically kind of stripping the plant.
Yeah, but it's quite a bit prior to pulling the plant.
Okay.
If your plant says, and you would know this by the type of plant you have, it'll be on the seed packet. They'll say, or it'll be in the seed catalog. They'll list the type of tomato, the name of the tomato, and then they'll say 70 days. And that means from the time you put the plant in the ground, it'll be 70 days until you get a ripe tomato. Mm-hmm. So if it's a 70-day tomato, then you have to guess when your night temperatures are going to drop to settle at 55 and count back 70 days from that.
Oh.
And that's when you would start this process of removing flowers and from the plant so that it doesn't set any more fruit, and the ones that are left on the plant will ripen fully.
Boy, I hope you have a growing season of 140 days. It would be kind of sad to be cutting back a plant before it's had a chance to mature.
Right. Frankly, I don't know that anyone would do that. There's always the hope that you're going to get more fruit, and you will get more fruit. And even if it doesn't ripen, we know there are things you can do with the green tomatoes.
And there's something called sink priority, which I always thought, yeah, the wife gets the sink in the bathroom. Go find someplace else. What is sink priority?
Sink is the place where the plant sends the food that it makes. It makes the food and all the green parts, and then the food sinks somewhere. It travels around the plant and it sinks or ends its travels in a place where it settles. And those places are growing points, flower buds, fruit buds, and ripening fruit. And there is a priority in the plant over what gets the food that the green parts are making. And fruit's a high priority. Fruit needs to be fed to get a lot of food into it, and flowers are a high priority. So if you have existing fruit on the plant and flowers, then you want to convert your sink. You want to skew the sinks toward the fruit so that you get as much ripening out of the fruit as possible. So that would mean picking off the flowers. I would not pick off new growth, because picking off new growth stimulates the plant to make more new growth. Mm-hmm. Typically, if you take off one stem tip, you're going to end up with two or more. So you've actually doubled your sinks there and taken more food away from the fruit. So I wouldn't touch the growing points. I would just remove the flowers.
So you're just pinching off the flowers.
Yeah.
And probably the best time to do that is mid-morning.
Yes. Yeah, plants make food during the day, then they move it around at night and make other chemicals at night. And so the plant has all the plant parts have the most sugar in them, the most plant food in them early in the morning. So that's when you would take the flowers off.
All right. I imagine immature fruit as well.
Right. If it's small and doesn't have a chance, you're going to hit your cold nights in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, doesn't have time to ripen or mature, get to a good usable size, whether you want to use it green or red. If it doesn't have that time, then take it off.
And again, this would be true of melons, squash, peppers, tomatoes, and beans.
Yes. And growing, if you wanted to grow a giant pumpkin, one of the things you have to do all through the growing season is remove secondary fruit, because you want all the food to sink into the giant pumpkin, not into these other fruits.
And why you would do that? Well, I'll tell you, you'll do it once.
Yes.
And then you realize it's much easier picking up a 30-pound pumpkin than a 100-pound pumpkin.
We did it once at school with students, and then, yes, we got a 250-pound pumpkin, but it's like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
It's out in the back field. How do we get it out of here?